Hi, welcome back to Manohar Academy. In this lesson, we are going to talk about the multiple inheritance. So, generally, whenever you are reading Java books, they straight away say that the multiple inheritance is not allowed in Java. So, but the actual thing is the multiple implementation inheritance is not allowed in Java. So, you cannot create a new class by extending multiple classes. So, we know that whenever we are extending classes, we are doing the implementation inheritance. So, you are going to inherit all the implementation details that are present in the superclass, and multiple implementation inheritance is not allowed in Java. Why is that? Why Java doesn't support that? Because supporting this multiple inheritance is going to add more complexity. It is actually available in C++, and when the Java is created, it closely mimicked or took most of the concepts from C++, but it simplified it. So one of the parts where it simplified is it doesn't support the multiple implementation inheritance. So for the simplicity reason, it is not allowed. And if you try to do that, if you try to create a class by extending multiple classes, we are going to get the compilation error. So ruled out. But in Java, multiple interface inheritance is allowed. That means you can implement as many interfaces as you want. So there is no limitation on number of interfaces that you can implement while creating a class. So this is allowed. So what does that mean? Is it not going to add any complexity? Yes, it is going to add little complexity, but not as much as the multiple implementation inheritance has. So let's look at one complexity, because you will be coming across that when you are doing the coding. So that is incompatible interfaces. So when we say incompatible interfaces, we are talking about two interfaces that cannot be implemented by a class directly or indirectly. So let's see an example. So we have two classes, writer and reader. So they are just two classes. They don't have any relation. Okay, they are not. They don't have hierarchical relation. And now we have also two interfaces. First interface is readable, and it is having a abstract method called getDevice, which is returning the reader object or object of type reader. Also we have a different interface, writer or writable, and in this class we have a getDevice method, and it is going to return a object of type writer. Now if I try to create a class called cdPlayer, and if I try to implement these two interfaces, okay, in Java it is allowed, you can implement multiple interfaces, but when you are implementing interfaces, you have to provide the implementation detail. So now let's talk about implementing the abstract methods. Both have only one abstract method called getDevice, so we have to just provide one implementation for getDevice. But while providing implementation, what we are doing is we are overriding whatever we have in the superclass or super interface. So while doing that, the overriding rule says that it should have the same signature, it should be more accessible, or it should not be less restrictive, and the third rule is the return type should be covariant. So you can either return a reader or some subclass of reader, or you can return a writer or subclass of writer. But whenever you are providing reader, it says, okay, reader is not covariant with writable or writer. When you are giving writer, it says it is not covariant with reader. So there is no way you can satisfy the overriding rules, because there is no covariant type that can satisfy both reader and writer. So because of that, you can't implement writable and readable at the same time. So these two interfaces are incompatible when you try to implement them. So here you can read that if you return reader, then it is not covariant with writer. If you return writer, then it is not covariant with reader. So you can't do this, and so you can't implement both the interfaces at the same time. So this is one small complexity that you are going to get whenever you are trying to implement multiple interfaces. But most of the time you don't get it. Sometimes you may get it. So in Java, the multiple implementation inheritance or extending multiple classes is not allowed. It's not supported at all. We don't need to know the reasons, but it is not there. But multiple interface inheritance, that is implementing multiple inheritance at the same time, is allowed and it is used widely, and we just need to make sure we are providing the implementation for all the methods that we inherited from all those interfaces. So that is all about this lesson. The last but not least, if you haven't subscribed already, please go ahead and subscribe so that whenever I upload some video, you are going to get a alert. Also, if you are benefited from this video, if you learned something from this video, please make sure you like this video and you share it with your friends so that they can also watch, they can also learn. Thank you once again. See you in the next lesson.